Hey, welcome to Parenting on Purpose. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Carter Collins. This is Rachel Hudson, and we're here with the Bedfords. Hey guys, glad y'all are here today. Would love to just take a minute and let you guys introduce yourselves and tell us how long have you been married, how many kids do you have, how old are they, all those kind of things.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm Jeff, and this is Karen.
Yeah.
And she said she wanted to take the easy questions. So
Okay.
let her go.
We'll give you all the easy questions.
That's right.
So do you know how long you've been married?
So we've been married 27 years.
Excellent work.
And
I assume that's correct.
That is. And so we have 4 children. We have 2 boys and 2 girls. Our boys are 26 and 24, and our girls are 22 and 19.
Nice.
So-
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when we wanted to invite you guys on the show, and we wanted to talk about raising girls and the uniquenesses of that and the delights, of course, that come along with raising girls. And you guys kind of have a unique perspective, having had 2 boys first and then having 2 girls. But raising girls, just in general, why is it important for us to talk about that? Isn't it all just the same, parenting?
In some ways it is. I think as Karen and I were looking at this and talking about it, one of the biggest things is it's really even the 2 boys versus the 2 girls within their own, girl-boy. There's so much that's just personality of the child itself. Mm-hmm. But certainly the girls are different. I have a brother. On the Bedford side of the family, I only had 1 girl cousin. So I really did not grow up around girls much at all. And then we had the 2 boys first, and then...
And you were like, I'm good to go.
And then Hannah came along.
You were a pro, man.
Of course, the first time you scold a little girl compared to the way you scolded the little boys, her little tears formed in her eyes, and she... and all this, and all of a sudden I'm like, Karen!
I can't do it!
What did I do? What did I do? Because there is a little bit of the emotional difference in a lot of cases,
Yeah.
and but it was comical now. But I think I did panic. And I go, Karen, come here quick! I don't know what I've done, but I think she's gonna pass out here. She just that look on her face of like, I can't believe Daddy just
And
got on
she's
to
a
me.
daddy's girl. So when it broke her heart when her daddy got onto her, because she is 100% daddy's girl.
Yeah.
So it was a big difference than daddy getting onto her than I getting onto her,
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
but-
So we have some questions that parents have written in and asked questions about different things, and we've added some of our own. And so we want to ask you guys some questions, particularly surrounding that topic of raising girls. And so I'm going to hand it over to Rachel, and we'll
Yes.
shoot some questions y'all's way.
Yes. Okay, and so you already kind of talked about a change when you had girls, but how did your parenting styles change, if they did, from when you just had your boys to when you added 2 girls? So like, what's the discipline different? Was how you responded to conflict? What had to change? Did anything change?
Basically, it just kind of, we didn't really parent them boy-girl. We parent them personality. So they all have different personalities. Even our girls have different personalities.
Sure.
Our boys amongst themselves have different personalities. So it wasn't really a gender parenting. It was a personality parenting. So.
And I think definitely the girls, there was a much softer probably approach and touch, just because there is somewhat of a little emotional difference between the boys and the girls. And, having, I guess, growing up in a very disciplinarian home, the boys started down that path with them. And again, the girls, it was like, so that first time you learned real quick. It took a lot less, probably force is a bad word, but it took a lot less aggressiveness to get the girls' attention, I would say, compared to the boys. But even within the girls, like she said, I mean,
Personalities.
one of them
Right.
was like, very, hey, don't do that. And I mean, it was like they would walk 10 feet around that table, and the other one would be a little more like, you mean don't touch this? Yeah, I mean, even within the girls themselves.
Sure, yeah.
And, so lots of fun stuff. One of them particularly, Karen used to try to take her to school. She would jump as soon as they'd pull up, she would unbuckle out of her car seat she would crawl to the third row of the Suburban. So Karen would end up having to pull off to the side, go to the back to open the Suburban up, at which point she would jump to the back to the front seat. and so
Yeah.
there would,
So it was almost not getting that child to go to school.
so, that was quite a difference in just the way
Yes.
their everyday demeanor was.
Sure, sure. So I mean, and you're so right that every child has his or her own personality. They have their own gifting, things like that the Lord has built them,
Right.
And they're unique in that way. Were there some things though about coming from, just having boys in the house that just in general just surprised you about having girls?
Well, the energy level was so high with the boys in the house
Yeah.
when Hannah was born that pretty much she was just on my hip most of the time at first because I was chasing them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but having brothers that are older, she'd want to get in, on the floor wrestling and come over the top too. So,
Yeah.
but
One unique thing when they were like probably 6'4" and Hannah was 2, pretty much it's that phase where every day you come in from work and they're all waiting, looking through the blinds for you.
Absolutely.
And, the boys would, of course, we'd walk in, immediately start wrestling. And as soon as Hannah was old enough to toddle, she would literally just come from toddling across the room and try to dive in to try to kind of get in on that aggressive behavior and wrestling and fun. And inevitably, though, she would get a knee or an elbow to the head.
never ended good.
And within, a matter of seconds, there would be
It's
tears and it would be so in that sense, she wanted to be part of that.
Sure.
But it's being younger particularly, but also she just wasn't quite built for the elbow to the nose or the
Yeah.
She was more
all
for
those
tea
stuff.
parties.
all those
Yeah,
times. So,
yeah.
Yes,
so yeah, we'd have to carve out time for the more calm tea
Right.
party type
Activities.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
Related to her. But
And you coming from having all boys almost in your family, was that a fun adjustment for you to go to the tea parties?
oh yeah, I mean it was neat. I mean you go from it's just so different than cars and sounds and to where literally you'd go. You had the Fisher Price little plastic tea set and have to go
yeah.
down and how
In the
that's just
kitchen.
naturally an instinct for a
Yeah.
girl versus the boys. Like, why would you want to go pretend like you're drinking tea?
Yeah.
Same reason you pretend you're playing with cars, and
Yeah.
so yeah, very very neat experience.
Man.
It's cool.
Well, I'm getting tickled because I'm thinking of Fletcher and Ruthie.
Oh, yeah.
Like they're so rough together, and then like sometimes they'll fall or something will happen, and Ruthie will be crying. And I've been around when they've said, "Ruthie, are you hurt?" Just my feelings.
Yeah. My feelings, she'll get her
Yes.
feelings hurt.
Like
you
she's
know.
totally fine. Like her, but she's
Yes.
like, my feelings are hurt. Like, oh, that's a girl right
And
there.
even, bedtime, the boys, it would be, kind of prayers, a little story or something, and then turn the lights out and head out. Whereas with the girls, it was more, well, lay down with me a few minutes. And
Yeah.
you'd go through the same thing with bedtime prayers, maybe, what was that, Alice and Bible Land books that we had at the time, and read them their Bible story, and then, they'd want you to lay down with them for a few minutes. So
Spend a
I
little
think
bit
just
more
a lot
time.
of that,
Right,
a lot
yeah.
more, their love languages are a lot more apt towards the time versus touch in our particular case. I think that was one of the differences.
Yeah.
Of course, I inevitably would fall asleep while laying down with the girls.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never came back. That's fun to think about. This is so fun because I'm one of 3 girls. I just laugh. My poor dad. My poor dad helped with so many like manicures and girls' slumber
Yeah.
parties, and it was just dads of girls are troopers, man. Okay, so I was interested in this question. Girls are often characterized as being more sensitive, and we've talked about that. Are there other stereotypes of girls that you found not to be true? Or are there, because some people are like, my daughter is not sensitive at all, and so some stereotypes are true, some aren't for different personalities. But have y'all found anything else in girls?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times you hear girls have a lot of drama, and one of ours just doesn't. I mean, she's just kind of even. I mean, there's no drama. There's never anything like that. I mean, she's just kind of happy with everything and, just likes to make peace. And there's just really never any drama involved at all. So I know a lot of people associate drama with girls, but
Yeah.
it's not always the case.
And we do have one that's
So-
got quite a bit of drama as well. So, but there's that contrast again within
We
the
won't ask you
girls.
which one is.
I won't say. I would be in trouble.
With every story I hear, I'm like, is it Hannah? Is it Sarah?
Yeah, yeah.
It's-
But
go back.
it's even again within the girls themselves. But yeah, that stereotype of there's always the drama. I mean, again, just as even keel. Of course, Karen's that way. She's just as even keel as they come,
Yeah.
and I think that's.
So does that mean
part-
you're the
part of-
dramatic one here?
I have fun with one of them, creating drama. Yes.
Ah, busted.
That's great.
She said that's where she gets it from. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, I love that distinction, though. That's just so helpful, I think. Especially, I mean, I have two young girls, and just to hear you say that, like, you know, they're because that's true. Typically, girls are referenced as being more dramatic, and honestly, in our family, my wife would admit she is more dramatic than me, you know, and so that we kind of fit the stereotype there. But just hearing you say that some of those things just aren't true, depending on, you know, the
Right.
personality and just how the child is, and that helps not to kind of place that expectation on them.
right. Yeah, we don't want to place any expectation on them at all. You know, whether it's our sons or our daughters, you know, we just want to raise them to who God wants them to be, you know. So we don't want to break that personality. We want to form it, and we want to encourage it in different ways, you know, the aggression or the drama or whatever the case may be. We want to focus that in a certain direction, but we don't want to break that personality that God's developed in them.
Yeah.
One thing that was really
So-
helpful early on was, you know, the books, the love languages, and just at least having some understanding that, yeah, while one may want you to lay down with them at night and be there till they fell asleep, others wanted their space. And whereas one of them made their touch maybe wrestling.
Yeah.
You know, one of our boys, I mean, it was one of his love languages is touch, because he constantly wanted to wrestle and pick and all this. And it's being able to read like those books and understand at least a little bit of that helped with both the boys and the girls of trying to understand that they do have to be treated a little bit differently. I would say they were all raised very similarly, with just some tweaks in how they were praised, how they were disciplined. I think just some of that, and again, it was all a learning curve. We
Definitely.
had no idea what we were doing when we started.
Yeah.
And,
But in spite of all our mistakes, God has raised 4 wonderful young adults.
He has.
so-
I mean, you just look back, and matter of fact, I think Brother David said it Sunday morning during the service about how all he remembers from that football season is a mistake he made. And you, as parents, that's what you dwell on so much, is looking back, going, man, really wish I'd have done that a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But then you also look and go, hey, did the best you could at the time with what you had and what you knew, and gradually learned over the course of 4. Caleb will tell you he was the experimental child. We joke about it now, he's 26.
Right.
Well, yeah, he was the experimental one.
Sure.
Joshua, about half experimental. By the time we got to Hannah and Sarah, we kind of had some clue as to what was going on. But
Yeah.
it is, you know, you look back and, you know, but as young parents that are just starting or have the little ones at home, you know, you just, you know, follow what you can, follow biblically, follow the good biblical scholars that are giving you some tips on parenting and all, and just, you know, kind of live and learn, because they are different. I think that's probably, looking back, probably the thing that was the hardest to pick up on as young was, okay, even the boys are different. And then Hannah, number 3, is a little bit different than that. Sarah, number 4, is a little bit different than that. Is you had to tweak. And at first, I know for me, as hard-headed, and no, this is how it's going to be
This is how
done.
we did
And-
it. This is how we're doing it.
and
Yeah,
then
that's
you,
right.
you do realize as you grow through that their personalities are a little different, and their love languages are different, and their skill sets are different. And just as you learn that and start to tweak your parenting, so to speak, to fit that.
But even at a young age, you know, they have to see that we're not perfect. You know, we make mistakes. We're human. You know, we're just trying to do the best we can. So I don't know how many occasions I've had to apologize to my children for fussing or overreacting to something that maybe I shouldn't have, you know. And so them seeing those mistakes that we make, you know, says, you know, it's okay. You know, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if we make a mistake. You know, they love me anyway, as long as they feel that love, you know, that comes from you, no matter what they're doing or what choice they may make.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
And
kids are quick forgivers.
Yes,
They are.
but then that helps them, like when they've made a mistake,
Right.
know how to do it. Because I've been around kids who like have never experienced an apology, so when they're asked to, they're like, I don't like how this feels. I don't want to do this.
Right.
And it's like
Yeah.
having to talk through, like, it's okay. Like, it does feel bad.
Right.
But like, do you remember, you know, it's just hard to walk a kid through that if they've never seen it.
we would
So,
have
like,
two of ours that would just tell them themselves, you know, they would feel so guilty. They'd just come tell them themselves. And so it's like, what do you do at this point? How do you parent that? You know,
man,
so they've
Yeah.
already felt guilty enough, you know.
that was my older sister. And my parents have told us that they had to learn that because
Right.
she would fess up to something so quick, and they'd come to me, and apparently I'd be like, "No, I did not do that." And they're like, "We
Oh, yeah.
saw you
We
do
had
it." Like,
one of those.
I'm like, "That's not. It
Yeah.
wasn't me. I don't know what you
Absolutely.
saw."
We had one of those
Yep.
too.
You got the one that says, I broke the plant, and then you got the other one that you watch do it and go, mm-mm.
She broke the plant.
Right.
I
wasn't
watched
me.
it.
I don't know how it got broke.
Our little girl, Ruthie, she came to me the other day, just, I mean, on borderline tears in her eyes. Dad, I'm so sorry. It's like, what happened? You know, it's okay, you can tell me. I spilled some water on the floor. And I'm like, baby, it's fine.
Right.
Like, that's okay. Like, it's totally okay. That was an accident. Like,
Yeah.
no worries. If my son had done that, he'd have been like, what water?
I don't know how that got
I don't even know what water is.
How does water made?
What is water? You know,
Oh man,
That's great.
But I love that y'all said that instead of focusing on a gender, it's just really a personality. Because we've had other
Yeah.
parents that have said that in regards to like first child, second child, like because they were speaking over their second child syndrome,
Right.
And then they had to realize like I'm speaking something into her that wasn't there, and so like I'm creating insecurities that didn't exist before I started speaking them. So I think that's really important. Okay, so this is a question I actually had. Because y'all have walked one daughter into adulthood and even into marriage, and then one is very close to it. What was the most challenging season of raising girls for y'all, and what made it so challenging?
It was adolescence.
Yeah,
I
probably
mean,
adolescence.
obviously, and you know, one thing, even though you feel like you're constantly encouraging them, especially the girls, constantly encouraging them, you know, all the things that they're pretty or whatever athletic event, whether they're, you know, dancing or swimming or what have you, that, you know, y'all are doing such a great job, keep it up, things are improving, all that. They still tended to, what's the right word? They would, I do think that's a big difference between girls and boys. They would seem to lose confidence faster. And there's so much
Begin to
more
doubt.
maybe pressure of how they compare to their friends and all. And I think that seemingly with ours at least, I think that the girls were much more sensitive to that and how they fit in and all. And so no matter how much it seemed you felt like you were encouraging them as parents, sometimes you'd still see them kind of get down and, well, I'm not loved, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. And you know, I think that was one of the bigger challenges, you know, through the adolescent probably time period.
Trying to figure out their identity, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they see so much around them, you know, perfect bodies and perfect, you know, somebody may win that race every time on the swim meet, or, you know, it's just, you know, you just tell them to keep going, do your best, you know, be who you are, don't worry about who the person is around you, you know. So that's hard with girls, a lot harder, I think, with girls than it was with our boys, is them figuring out their identity and not feel insufficient, you know, with those around them.
Boys
So-
will tend to put on a bravado, even if they may have a lack of self-confidence, but boys are much more, oh yeah, I can do that. You know?
Yeah.
I can beat
Right.
Carter.
Even
I got
if we
run
can't,
Carter right
we'll
now. You want to
pretend
run
like we
Carter? I
can.
got run you
Man,
right now.
I would do it. I
You
would
know,
do
it.
but, you know, I know for a fact I can't, but I may. Hey, let's go.
Yeah, even though
I
you made it
don't
over.
know about
But
that.
I think that's one of the big differences.
Yeah.
Kind of back to the original with girls is they can get a lot more caught up in that piece of it, and I think, constant encouragement at home, and then I know we heard this early, but all the kids do, but it starts. They got to know we love each other, and that's another big personality difference between particularly the girls and the kids is we were able to start at a certain time when we had some old enough to babysit to go, hey, we're going out tonight, y'all have fun, throw a pizza in the oven. And of course the boys were like, good riddance, and one of the girls like, y'all have fun, and the other girl's like, I can't believe y'all won't take me with you. Do you just not love me? You not want to take me out? You want to get away from
The
me? Am I
social
there?
butterfly that wants to be everywhere.
It's
Yeah,
like,
that was
that's
me.
to get back to that personality difference within. And but I think, as parents too, you need that time together to sometimes be able to step back and just spend time together one-on-one to clear your head and then be able to.
And a lot of times we would do that at lunch. We'd meet at lunch. They were in school. We didn't have anyone to watch them at night, so our date time was at lunch. But another thing that we did, and that is, I think, it's important for all of them, is to choose who you surround your friends. What friends do you have? So, and that makes a big difference on them, molding them and shaping them, because we can tell them all day long, you're beautiful, you're talented, you have these great qualities about yourself, but they seem to believe it more from their friends. So whoever they surround themselves with, I think, is shaping and molding them sometimes even more than we do.
Yeah.
So just
We
teaching
were-
them that from a young age.
We were so blessed with that, especially with the girls. I mean, their friends they surrounded themselves with were all Christians, and they all kind of walked together through a lot of things that helped each other out. So.
I love that you said teach them young, because you still have a say when they're young. Like you can help them figure out
That's
how to do
right.
that, so that when they come to the age and they're around people and they start to, I don't know, when I got to college and hung around people, I realized like when I would leave them, I'd be like, something's not right in me. Like I'm saying things I don't normally, I was able to identify, oh, it's the people I'm around, not anything I've done. But it's important to start early, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so since your daughters all of your kids are adults, and so girl, boy, whatever, what's one thing that you can see now that you instilled in your kids that you would encourage parents of younger kiddos to instill in theirs? And so you might have 4 different things because of your 4
So-
different kids, something you see in them.
Yeah, one thing that we definitely instilled on is being a servant. Don't give without expecting in return. We like them to be able to help, be able to serve, be able to be involved in missions, whether it's here or somewhere else. Just not being self-focused, but just being God-focused and seeing what He has them, for them to do and helping others. So.
I mean, I would agree. I think especially they do definitely take more after their mother there, and and I think especially the girls, they've been started working in King Singers and Children's Church at 7th grade or something, and have been involved in so much of that. And again, another day when we go on we've been blessed a couple of times to take the whole family to Honduras. And that's another when you get the sense of the boy. We usually do either some type of construction or something like that. And it's amazing to watch the girls. They really get involved in the kids' lives. I mean, in 5 days, they know 20, 50 kids' names, and the boys are just more so of, hey, look, we can play a little soccer or something, but it's another big difference between the girls and the boys, and how personal the girls can get and develop friendships in such a short period of time, even with language barriers and all of that.
Right.
But and you're right. I mean, watching one of the sons is married now, one of our daughters is married, and I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool seeing the what you've prayed for all these years, that God provides them with the spouse that even better than you could have ever expected. You pray since since you conceived them. So even maybe before that, but just to see that the spouses that we've prayed for all these years have just gone. God just went above and beyond.
Yeah.
More than we could ever expect.
And it's neat watching them as adults because you remember back to all the crazy times when they're little, but looking at them as adults and watching them, really become a good homemaker and becoming a good leader of the home. And Joshua, I mean, it's really neat.
Yeah.
And you do sometimes go, wow, in spite of us, look what happened here, But
Yeah.
it is neat. And picking up 2 new children. I mean, that is a neat part of life. So it's fun now. COVID shut it down for a little while, but we probably fairly frequently were able to get everybody there. And it's really neat, the contrast between when they were younger to now watching them all basically as adults sit around the table or sit outside and cut up and have a good time, and you can hear their conversations and where they're at in life, and they're helping each other with, oh yeah, I ran into that and I did this, and it's really a neat time of life right now.
It is. And one thing that we did when the girls were younger is they had date night with Dad. So he would take them occasionally and have some kind of date night with them, teaching them what a husband should, how they should be treated. So, you want them to have certain expectations, you pray for them, but then ultimately it's their decision. So, you pray that they listen to God and follow that. But having a role model of a great dad definitely gives them something to look forward to.
Yeah. Well, that relationship is so important. And Jeff, you and I actually had a conversation while running one time about the contrast between how you felt when your son came to you and was thinking about getting married, and then when
Oh yeah, that was easy.
and
Great.
and how just like that seemed very natural, like
that's great,
whatever,
yeah.
and then the contrast of that and
Yeah.
your little girl coming to you talking about being married.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a, like I say with the boy, you're like, oh yeah, no problem. You just respect and honor what her parents want as far as timing, all that, blah, blah, blah. Great, y'all, sounds good. We're excited. And then, and love him to death. But then when your future son-in-law comes, hey, I want to marry your daughter, and you're going, wait, she's like not even 20 yet. Wait a minute. I mean, I love you. You're welcome to family, but let's wait. It's totally different.
Yeah.
It was I was amazed myself at how different that felt, and how much, even though I absolutely knew that this was a wonderful Christian young man and a great addition to the family, there's also still that holy smoke. I mean, this is
little
real.
girl.
I mean,
Yeah, it's like,
And
is he
again,
going to love
that's-
her like Daddy? Is he going
Yeah,
to
I
provide
mean-
for her? Is he going to, there's just,
Yeah.
with our son, those questions didn't come through our mind. We
Sure.
knew that was going to happen. It probably came through, his wife's parents' minds, but
Right.
not ours. And so, but when it's our daughter,
Yeah.
we start thinking of all these questions. It's like, okay, we just want to make sure everything's good.
I think she was more freaked out than I was, and so it's but it was, again, it's just such a shock to the system of, well, wait a minute now, I've got to actually, biblically, I've got to give my little girl away, and it's like, wait a minute, not sure I'm right, because again, Hannah, she's the daddy's girl. Sarah, our youngest, really clung to her mom. I mean, it was like Karen would leave to go to the grocery store when Sarah was about. She would cling to her like I was the evil empire, I mean, and finally Sarah would be like, "No, you've got to stay here with your dad," and it was the opposite. So again, it's a really unique.
Yeah.
It made me think back to when I actually went and talked to Karen's dad. I'm like, man, I would have told me no. we met in April, started dating. No, we started dating in April, got engaged in August, and got married in January. So he knew very little about me. I'm like, man, I would have said no.
Yeah.
Looking back to that, Hannah dated for quite some time, and again, we knew at that point the right person, but still.
I just love that. I love that story because it brings out that contrast of, with your boys, you're pretty confident, but you as the dad, that brought out that provider, protector instinct in you, and just the way that God has made us that differently, unique, and just what a beautiful picture that is, and how that kind of brought out that in you as something unique in your heart for your daughters. And I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Man. Well, that's kind of all the questions we've covered. Is there anything else y'all want to share about, if young parents were sitting in front of you, maybe with 2 boys and 2 girls, or just 2 girls, and they're like, I don't know what to do. But these girls are driving me crazy. What do you do?
Yeah, I got 2 girls.
You got 2 girls?
So just,
Yeah.
just,
Just
Well,
look at Carter. And
yeah, I want to know. I want to know that. So.
You know, honestly, I mean, you know, I don't know that we're qualified to give too much advice, but the things that we did learn young was, and that, you know, it's one of those always, if you could go back,
Sure.
you know, spend the time,
Just have all the time, you know.
spend the time. So,
That's sweet.
you know, just because that time, that one-on-one time with them, 1-on-2, 1-on-4, whatever it may be. We joke, we went from, Caleb actually threw another piece in it last night. We've always joked we went from man on man when you go, the biggest challenge was going from 2 to 3, because you go from man on man to zone
zone,
defense.
yeah.
But Caleb said last night, well, you started with 2-on-1. You know, you started with double coverage. So you go from double coverage in our case to man on man to walking out of the house going, well, wait, I got one, you got one. Who's going to get the third one? I mean,
Where's she?
what do we do? So yeah, but then from 3 to 4 was no big deal because you're already
there.
in zone coverage. So, but just spend the time. I mean, I
I'd
think
say
that's
spend the
probably
time. Definitely look at their personalities. There's no comparison ever. If it's 2 girls, it doesn't matter. There's no comparison. So we try not to compare any of our children to the other
Yeah.
one because they are individuals, you know. So, you know, you definitely don't want one to think they're a favorite or anything else. So,
But they will.
I'm my parents' favorite.
Yeah.
But we all think that. We
They always
always.
kid that one's the favorite. We're
yeah.
like,
Right.
they're not the favorite. They're just the easiest to get along with, and you have to admit that. you
Well,
know.
my parents
You
will
have to
like,
admit
we'll get
that.
in a room one-on-one, and I'll be like, you can tell me. You can tell me. I'm your favorite. And they'll be like, you are.
Yeah.
And, but I'll hear like my little sister do the same thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I heard that. That's good.
That's right.
They're,
They're all
like,
the
we want you
favorite.
all to think
They're all the
you're all of
Yeah,
our
they're all
favorites.
the
the
favorites
favorite.
because
Yeah.
they do. They're so unique,
Yeah.
and there's so many different traits.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much. Thanks
Thank you. You're
for
welcome.
taking the time just to be here, and thanks for helping us think through some of those questions about raising girls, but also just about parenting in general and the unique difficulties and triumphs that come along with that. Thank y'all just for the wisdom that you shared in that, and for those tuning in. Appreciate you watching, and we are excited about continuing these. And if you have any questions, we want to know. So if you send those to parenting@crossgates.org, you send that to that email. We would love to get your questions, pull them together, and then we can sculpt who we ask to be here as guests depending on what questions you have. And so if you need any help with that or just resources or questions in general, we'd love to hear from you and aid that in any way we can. So we hope that this has been encouraging and uplifting to your hearts today. God bless you.